Probably could have done a coin flip in a lot of previews between Penn State and Ohio State, but we'll talk about the Nittany Lions first. And Drew Aller and James Franklin won big games last year. They objectively checked that box. Now, couldn't get over the hump, couldn't get past Notre Dame when they needed a drive late in the semifinal to cash in a chance to play for a national championship, but progress was made nonetheless. And Penn State was there. They competed with Oregon. They did need Ohio State to lose to Michigan to make it to Indianapolis, but they were there. They held their own, and then they won playoff games and had a chance to compete for a national championship. All of those things, I think, before the season started last year, Penn State fans would have taken in a heartbeat. The narrative about James Franklin was that he can't win the big game ever. And even though they were not able to ultimately claim college football's top prize, we made progress there. So that sets the stage to me, guys, where I think Penn State feels a lot like Ohio State did last year. Ohio State went out and they spent a bunch of money to get their veterans to come back and to forgo the NFL draft. You have Drew Aller coming back. You have both of the running backs and Katron Allen and Nick Singleton back in the fold. The defense is very, very scary, even after losing Abdul Carter off the edge. They've got big playmakers at linebacker and in the secondary coming back. And for me, I feel like this is the year that Penn State has no more excuses. They are expected to compete and maybe even win a national championship, according to some. This feels like the year that Penn State has at least got to make the national championship, or else have, a bunch of kind of ready-built excuses like injury or fluke plays to kind of blame, right?
Yeah, this is the easiest notes that I took on any team. It is now or never for James Franklin at Penn State. He has all the ingredients that he needs, the most experienced, most talented roster he'll likely ever have as the head coach of the Nittany Lions. And that needs to pay off with another deep playoff run. I almost don't care as much what their ultimate standings in the Big Ten are. I think Ohio State proved that last year. Even if they take a couple lumps, as long as they get in, they need to win games in December and January to cement his legacy and to really disprove the allegations. They started that last year, I agree. But in the biggest moment of the season, against Ohio State, against Oregon in the Big Ten championship, against Notre Dame, when they just needed to take care of the football and drive and get a field goal to go play for a natty, it all fell apart again. So it's literally now or never. It's as simple as that. They got to find the biggest question for me. What is the passing identity outside of Tyler Warren? That ended up being the whole identity of the passing game last year.
Yeah.
He was a weapon all over the field. He ran the ball some as well. He even threw the ball. We got to figure that out. I love the pickups in the portal. Trevor Pena from Cuse and Devontae Ross, I think, right, from Troy.
Yep.
Yeah. So I love those two pickups. Those are two solid weapons. I think those are upgrades over what they had in the room last year, but they also need to show that they're willing to have an identity in that passing game that's outside of the tight end.
To use him, right? I mean, not a single reception in the semifinal game went to a wide receiver. The only completed passes in that game were to tight ends or to the running backs. It was check down nation for Penn State against Notre Dame. And so when I look at what the offense needs to do to improve, I need Andy Kotelnicki to step up in big games as well. Like, we talk about him, we sing his praises when they're beating Rutgers and when they're beating, their non-conference opponents. But I need to see him get Drew Aller to a place where he is comfortable to throw the football down the field. And not all of that's on Kotelnicki. Aller's got to take the step forward as well. He's been incredibly inconsistent. On one hand, you have NFL draft scouts looking at his film and going, this guy has all the tools to be the best quarterback in the draft this time next year. On the same hand, you could very easily make the case that, man, I just don't know that he has what it takes to win at the next level unless he shows us a level of progression in this final year in Happy Valley. I think he can take that level, that step forward in progression. I think he's got the tools around him. You mentioned the wide receivers. Kyron Hudson comes over from USC as well. So the stable is stacked. The running game is going to be phenomenal. And then, guys, you look at the defensive side, and last year under Tom Allen, it was great, right? The defense played well. This year, they have the guru of all defense in Jim Knowles coming over from Ohio State. A contract dispute led to Knowles saying goodbye to Columbus, coming to Happy Valley for an absurd amount of money. And now he gets to work his magic with a ready-made defense to win a championship. Ohio State fans don't like to remember that when Knowles first got there, their defense had become a little bit of a mess. They were not getting to the quarterback. The secondary was leaky at times. It was not the typical top 15, top 20 Ohio State defense that Buckeye fans expected. That was why you brought in Jim Knowles in the first place from Oklahoma State. This year, there's no rebuild that needs to happen. Penn State's defense can win a championship today. And now you're adding a genius like Knowles to a unit that returns starters along the defensive line, Dom DeLuca at linebacker, AJ Harris and Zakai Wheatley in the secondary. I mean, it's all coming up Penn State as I look towards the pieces. It's just truly whether or not they can win those games and get through the biggest moments, especially on offense.
This is the one team for me that I have no issue just kind of being out on. And I might be an idiot for this. I'm just kind of out on the Penn State hype. Everyone that's saying that this is obviously their year to win the Natty because, it's just like how Michigan and Ohio State did it. I don't think so. The difference there is that Michigan and Ohio State the last couple of years had really good quarterback play that was effective when they needed it to be. And I don't trust this offense without Tyler Warren. I just don't. They got a great run game, like the two best running backs in the country, at least the best duo in the whole country. I'm not going to doubt that. They're going to be able to run the football, but I just don't think that Drew Aller's the guy to get them over the hump. I've seen him get all the accolades, but I pulled his game logs just to see if I was crazy. When he played Illinois, he threw for 135 yards. When they played Ohio State, he threw for 146. And then the last 4 games of the season, he threw for 226 against Oregon. He threw for 127 against SMU. Granted, it was very cold. I'll take the elements into account for that one. But against Boise, he threw for 171, and Notre Dame, he threw for 135. Is this the guy that I'm supposed to get excited about, even with some transfer wide receivers? I don't know if this is it. I get that he's experienced. I get that he's been there. I understand it. I totally understand the thing. I just feel like if we haven't seen it at this point, what else are we waiting to show? He's getting a lot of comparisons to Cade Klubnik at Clemson, right? Where they're the two guys that have been around for a while. It's a lot of the trendy people's national championship pick to say that it's going to be Clemson Penn State. The difference is Cade Klubnik struggled his first year and has looked freaking awesome this last season. Drew Aller looked all right, I guess, when he was throwing, 1/3 of the production to Tyler Warren. I just don't get where the production's supposed to really come from and why I'm just supposed to buy into it, especially when it's not like their schedule's the easiest thing in the world. They host Oregon. I don't think that's as much of a rollover game. They go to play at Iowa. They play at Ohio State. They play Indiana. These are games I think are very losable for them if they don't bring their A game, especially considering what they seem to produce in the offense when a good defense shows up on the other side of the field. So I don't think this is a terrible team. I don't think this is a team that's going to completely fall apart, but I don't think that this is a national championship contender. They might make the playoff. I think that's feasible, right? They might be better than the other teams just in their parts, but I don't think that this is a national championship contender, and I'm totally fine picking to be out on this team.
Trey, do you want to go into the numbers or do you want me to?
Go for it.
Okay. So I guess my questions would be twofold. One, where are we drawing the line for quarterback efficiency? Because last year Aller was 10th in the country in QBR. He was 16th in raw adjusted total. Right. So that includes some defensive metrics. Nittany did not throw the ball down the field all that often, right? Because whether it was a combination of Aller and the wide receivers or Nittany didn't trust the wide receivers, the efficiency of the run game, he didn't have to throw the football down the field all that much. So I know that he's at times struggled to hit some of those deep balls, but I guess I'm I'm like wondering what a metric is that we're pointing to and going like, this is why I don't believe
he's one of the guys that I feel like he looks good on paper, but I just don't love what I see when I turn the film on. Like, he's not a bad he's not like he's terrible. I'm not saying that he's an awful quarterback who can't get it done. I'm just saying, like, he doesn't look like a guy who elevates the guys around him. A lot of times it looked like, when he was completing some of those sort of spectacular catches to Tyler Warren, I was like, oh, well, thank God he had a freak athlete out there to get it done, or thank God he had a guy to go out there and help him out on that one, because most tight ends are probably letting that one go over their head, or can't come down with it. I guess for me, my big thing is, I'm like, why is this team any different this year than what they were in previous years when they haven't really been able to get it done? If you want to tell me that one more year and we're just going to start pushing the ball down the field because we got some transfer receivers, okay, I guess. Like, I guess I'm okay with that logic. I just don't know that I'm like in the contenders tier when I see teams that did a really good job addressing needs in the portal, when I see teams that are bringing in a lot more production than what they did last year, when I see teams that are still stacked like Ohio State. Like, again, the quarterback position's a question for Ohio State, but they're still pretty stacked. I just don't know where I'm supposed to sit here and say, oh, Penn State's obviously, but like, the defense is going to be very good. It was really good last year too. But I don't know how much better the defense can play than how they played last season. And so if I don't think they're going to be way better on defense, and I think they'll still be very good, if not elite, possibly the best defense in the country. Like, if I don't think that that's it, I just don't know where I'm supposed to look at this and say, this is where we're going to dramatically be better on offense because like X reason. If we're just going to say he's efficient, but they didn't ask him to throw the football that much, okay. I guess if they're going to ask him to throw the football more, then I got to see what it looks like when they ask him to throw the football more. Is the efficiency because they asked him to be captain check down or captain throw it short, or is the efficiency because he really just is that guy? I haven't seen it, so I just don't buy it yet.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, I think Aller has always been an efficiency guy. Mitch, you quoted the QBR. You quoted, I think he might have the top returning QBR in the country, if I'm remembering that.
That sounds about right.
I could be off on that, but they haven't asked him to chuck the ball downfield. And I think to get the offense over the hump, you're going to have to see that. It feels like JJ McCarthy to me at this point in his career, maybe with a little bit more running ability on McCarthy's side to get those first downs. But I think Aller's a capable runner and can pick up a first down with his legs when he needs to. It feels a lot like JJ McCarthy's career trajectory at Michigan. And you saw it in his senior year where you had to get people off of the narrative that, hey, he was just an efficiency monster and was only taking what was given by the defense because the run game was setting you up. McCarthy, by his senior year, was making big time throws and stretching the defense. And that's honestly what put Michigan over the top and made them a true championship contender. So if you buy Penn State as a championship contender, you're buying that last stage of the Drew Aller development. I think we thought we would see that last year. It did shy away. We saw glimpses of it. I'm thinking back to the West Virginia game where they're airing it out and we're thinking, oh boy, like we're getting a little hot and bothered by that Kotelnicki offense against what we thought was going to be a pretty solid West Virginia defense.
Yeah.
And obviously that wasn't great in hindsight, but I think if you're banking on Penn State as a true championship contender, you're banking on him taking that last step in the development, going from an efficiency guy to a guy that can put the team on his back in those biggest moments. And to be fair, we did see it in the playoff last year where he had that chance against a really good Notre Dame defense and he turned the ball over.
And threw a terrible pick.
Threw a terrible interception. So Mr. Efficiency and take care of the football didn't do his thing in the biggest moment of the season last year. So I see where both of you guys are coming from. And that is the big question. Can they find an identity in the passing game outside of Tyler Warren? And does Drew Aller take that final step and use all of that experience and efficiency to put the offense over the top?
I'll say he even reminds me of kind of the box that we put Will Howard in, right, for Ohio State last year. Now, Howard, much more mobile, much more willing to use his legs, less of a proven passer than McCarthy or Aller. But when he set his feet and made the throws, that Ohio State needed him to make in pressure situations. That was what elevated Ohio State to win some of those big games. And when he got hot during that playoff run, when he took the lessons learned from Michigan, where he was in hell, right? I mean, Michigan had him running for his life. He couldn't make any throws against the Wolverines. Suddenly he gets his confidence back. He steps into throws. And then that was the game changer, right? I mean, he shredded the Oregon secondary, a secondary that had played solid ball up until that point in the Rose Bowl. So they do need to see, Penn State does. They do need to see Drew Aller be able to take over a game, and that point is very fair on Garrett's side.
Well, but my only kind of pump on that is like Ohio State had some absolute dogs at receiver who made that happen. I mean, like some of those throws were, I mean, dime throws. Don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from Will Howard. I think I believe more in him last offseason than I do in Drew Aller now. But I still just, again, I'm just like, my only hang up on this is I have to see him when they actually need him do something, right? Like when they've played nobody state or who cares, he's put up good numbers. Like he's thrown it around. There've been broken tackles, and that's part of the game. But like I haven't seen it from him that he can be the guy to take it over and take it over the hump. And the only thing that I've read on Penn State is like they brought in a bunch of good transfers and maybe Kotelnicki here too or whatever. And I'm like, great. If we're gonna say that those transfers are gonna do with the wide receiver core enough to be matchup nightmares and run up and down the field and cause major issues, great. Drew Aller will go throw for a whole bunch of yards and I'll look like an idiot. I'm fine with that, but I just haven't seen it yet, and I don't buy it right now.
Separation was a massive issue for Penn State wide receivers last year.
Mm-hmm.
Pena can get loose in a phone booth. Hudson is a great athlete, and so is Ross from Troy. I think a name that a lot of people are going to learn this year, coming over from a Troy team that really struggled under Gerard Parker last year. So a lot of pressure on that wide receiver core. They know the task that's in front of them. Aller obviously has heard the headlines, the pros and the cons of his draft stock all off season long. And it is going to be one of the most fascinating storylines to watch here in 2025.